Welcome back, River Light fans. Rodrigo Perez, Hayden Krasnowski in the Igniting the Lamp podcast. We got a special episode with a couple special guests, goalkeeper for River Light, Blythe Braun, and Olivia Duray, midfielder for River Light FC. They had a very big win yesterday. We're recording this on Friday. Had a very big game win yesterday, Thursday, 6-0 against Bavarian United. We'll be asking them a little bit about that game, a little bit about the season so far, and a little more personal questions about, favorite team, floating down the Fox segment. You guys know what's up with that.
There's going to be a lot of fun stuff that we are going to talk about, and just getting to know both one of the mainstays in goal and then our rock in the midfield. It's really just such a pleasure to have them on this week, and I really appreciate all their time. But without further ado, let's jump into it.
Guys, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Doing great. It's always nice to come off of a big win, and especially with Bavarian United being a great competitor, and us having some good games in the lineup coming up. I think we're all excited to keep it up and keep scoring goals.
Yeah, we needed some points because we came off a tough loss this past week against Minnesota Aurora. So I think Charlie's pretty happy that we've been getting some points the past 2 games, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good one for us.
Mm-hmm.
What really were the contributing factors to yesterday's success, other than, well, if you were at the game, Mac's hat trick, which I believe ended in the second half?
I think our team definitely outplayed them. In the beginning, it was a little bit difficult because they had a box in the midfield, so we were a little outnumbered there.
Mm-hmm.
But once we had equal numbers in there, I think we had better players, so we were able to move the ball a lot better. And there was just a bunch of space behind the lines, and Mac was able to get in there. I think Ellie was, and Devin's able to read those passing lanes, so it worked out pretty well, I think.
And as we were getting more and more goals, I think we also utilize our time smarter, and we were able to just really possess and find the good combination passes and really just take our time getting back to front to goal.
You had already played Bavarian United, so you kind of knew a little bit of what they had to bring this season at least. Did that change in this one at all?
I would say that it was a little bit of a different game. The heat definitely played a factor. I think our score when we played them last was 4-2. So again, it was a competitive game, but we were still getting in the back of the net. But I would say it was pretty similar. The heat definitely played though.
Yeah, I think they had a better squad for the first game. I think they might have been missing some players for the second game. So I don't know how to judge that, but I think this game we obviously we weren't having to run it. I think Blythe definitely had a lot more that she had to actually contribute to last game.
Yeah,
compared to the game, I don't really know if Blythe had more than a shot that she had to stop. So I think they were a little bit more eager last game than they were for this game for sure.
Yeah, I think that there was only one save that Izzy Lee had to make past the 75th minute.
Even then, it stung her gloves. It was basically she just stood there and the ball rolled right to her. It was
as a goalkeeper, you love those games,
Oh, those were my favorite too. I'm like, this is great. I think one of the big things was Blythe, just really your commanding presence at the back. You were guiding, Taylor, you were guiding Rachel, just commanding the center backs and having Sam. And oh my gosh, she was playing right back last night. It was Shay. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just commanding that back four, and then Olivia sitting in front of him, just saying, "Hey, Devin, have fun, go forward." And I really think it was just really good team performance yesterday. And well, congratulations, both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Which is something that you're kind of expecting at the end of the season, especially since there's 4 matches left. How are you feeling about that, knowing that your season's pretty much so close to being over?
It is, but at the same time, I think that with the squad we have, the coaches and the staff we have, we are all looking to make it into playoffs and hopefully get that type of run. So we do have 3 to 4 games, but with that said, we want to get those results so that those aren't our last games. And I feel like our players are confident, our coaches are confident that we could do that. So that's very much in the looks to happen.
Yeah, I agree with Blythe. I'm a little sad because I have to leave next week. So I hope we do get the results in the next couple of games so I can come back for playoffs. But I think with the way the team's been performing the past 2 games, I think the next couple games will just be like a walk in the park, honestly.
Yeah. just take care of business.
Yeah.
Chicago City coming up, and they're again a great competitor. They're actually loss at home. I think maybe even our only loss at home. Or no, yeah, we tied Minnesota Aurora. So we're definitely gonna have to look for a result there. But yeah, I mean, we have a confident squad. I think that there's great chemistry. There's a big group of the girls that have played together for years from club. And then other players like myself who have come in and sort of built off of what they already had, which is awesome.
I think the general feeling now after yesterday's win, technically it is, just keep scoring, rack up the goal difference. A lot of the conversation was just outscore Minnesota Aurora, and that 6-0 win has firmly put you, at least in the Heartland division, on top with goal difference. I believe just sitting a point behind now Minnesota Aurora as they won. I think the final score is 2-0 yesterday. So a little bit of work to do, but you have that chance of just extending that part of your season knowing win out. Go do what you have to do. What do you think it's going to take as a team for both you to extend that chance?
I think we need to put away our chances like early on in a lot of these games. I think sometimes like with the way that we've lost other teams, we've had opportunities to score and we haven't finished them. And then we end up like making the game more complicated for ourselves than it needs to be. Like I think with our loss against City, like we were up and then I think we kind of relaxed a bit for a half. And then the second half, when they kind of got some confidence and came out a lot stronger, we were kind of caught off guard. So I think just making sure that we're taking care of business, people aren't making silly, goofy mistakes. I think that will be great in the next couple of games.
Yeah, going off of what Liv says, I really think that it is key to minimize the mistakes. And like we're such a high energy team, and we also have a great bench. Like anyone who comes off the bench, like great player, like we're very confident. So we have that depth. So I think that as long as we keep high energy and really like make the other teams work to get up, I think that we do have success. And it just takes us keeping that mental discipline of always keeping that really high level, that really high energy, and making any other team work for like getting the ball any little chance that they get. If we give them a mistake, that's to their benefit. But we just have to do everything that we can so that that doesn't happen.
Has there been this like preaching moment for head coach Charles Latchov? Just keep pressing the team and eventually these goals will come, because we saw it yesterday. First 2 minutes there was 4 chances that very narrowly could have been put away.
He doesn't speak on pressing as much as he does more so our whole team just being unified and going up together. We had talks about what to do in the midfield. We had talks about, where are we being compromised? And I think that with that said, like when we figure out where we're being compromised, like then we're able to be on the offense more, because we don't have to defend. Like anytime that you're not defending, of course, you're on the offense. So pressing is definitely in the conversation. We know that we're capable of it. We know that it works for us, but I wouldn't say that it is the only conversation.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if we can press, I think Charlie definitely wants us to press. We have girls that can press. Like I know Mac is constantly running, but at the same time, we like acknowledge that like our forwards can't run forever. So sometimes it's just about the right moments, I think, when to press. And obviously yesterday we were able to press them for I think a good chunk of the game. In our trains, we've been doing a lot of fitness stuff. Even Blythe and all the other goalies have had to get on the line and run.
Oh
so
my God, yeah.
I think Josh and Charlie do a good job of making sure they want us to be one of the fittest teams in the league. So I think the pressing is definitely there, and that's one of the key parts of our team is that we're able to press for so long, and that when we defend hard. So makes the other team have to think a little bit quicker.
Yeah, even on our like pre-game game plan that gets sent out like the day of the match, like there's a list of bullet points of all things that we should be thinking about and what our game plan is, and it's always just work the hardest for 90 minutes. Like that's just always one of the key points.
The more you know. Also, Blythe, I apologize getting on the line. No, that's not a me thing. I don't like running, trying to keep up with the midfielders. It's like, man, we're just.
Oh, trust me, that's why I'm a goalkeeper,
Exactly.
Yeah, but hey, we all got to do it. We're on a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blythe, one of the things that you mentioned that I think we've seen a lot with Riverlight this season has just been the amount of talent that the squad has, from the starters, from some of the girls on the bench as well. There's a lot of talent there. We've seen a lot of them play really valuable and really good minutes this season. Olivia as well. Can you talk to me about some of those other players that maybe don't get as much recognition that have come off the bench and just been incredible for Riverlight this season?
Yeah, I think one of the hugest people that has come off the bench is definitely Olivia Chanelli. I think that girl could even make her way into the starting lineup. She's just such a hard worker. I played at her with soccer. It's funny because it's very full circle for a lot of us because we played at clubs together throughout our youth. I think in the beginning, like Maya Nugent was on the bench and she came off, and as we've seen, she's scored some bangers in the past couple of weekends. And even our youngers like Ellie and Anya, like those two, like they're best friends. They work up great up top. They love to run. They love to freaking shoot from 40 yards out and it like the great shots. So it's good to see the youngers take people on and get some confidence for sure. And then like in our back line, like seeing Keegan and Rachel and Taylor, like they're able to like help the youngers out that come in. So like Sam and Shay have been great. Like I think we just have so much depth. I think of who else. Can you think of anyone else? Ella Lamb came in yesterday. Ella Lamb's a great
Yeah, she was a rock star.
So Ella's awesome. Even just having Bella come off the bench. I mean, Bella's normally the starting lineup, but Bella finds her way to always find a goal somehow or an assist. So
Yeah,
it's been
or
great.
Ella Burke. I think she came in later in the game yesterday, and she started quite a few matches for us. But I think that she always does a terrific job. And like even some of the players that don't even appear in the games, like at practice, it's such a high level. Like the shots that I know I personally face are great shots. Like our training level, the amount of great players that we have, not even in the games, but in our practices, just keeping it at such a high level, keeping us like ready to play the next game. It's just a great environment to be in.
Like I have been to a couple of the practices, just trying to see what the team's trying to cook up for this upcoming week. Maybe, there's a couple new additions I'm not aware of. Like I remember when Keegan got added, I'm like, when did this happen? And I get told, yeah, this happened 12 hours ago. I'm like, this would have been good to know. But you can see the levels progressively rising a game after game. You went toe to toe with Minnesota Aurora for 180 minutes, I would like to say. Just very back and forth. You're keeping up with some of the top talent. And I have to say, I've been very impressed. But other than, these tough practices, how else do you feel like your game's kind of evolved with some of these training sessions?
I will say though, like about what you're saying that we're keeping up toe to toe with Minnesota, or we should be like that's the type of team we are, that's what we expect to do. Like that should be a competition for us, and we absolutely expect to not only be toe to toe, but we expect to put in the work to get success in those games. I think that, and Liv take over after this, but like everyone at training, like we're all college soccer players or girls that are about to get in the college soccer game. We all want to get better. We're all working hard to improve right now so that we can do really well in our fall season and have the success that we all join Riverlight. So we want to have programmatic success for them as well, because they're like, we don't pay to play. Like they bring us in for free, which is not something that a lot of clubs do, which is we're very lucky to do that. And they give us a great environment, so we want to bring them success. But we're also working for our next step, which is all of our college game.
Yeah, I think the environment we're in for training is just super nice because it's really freeing. Like I think a lot of us when we're in our college environment, it's very stressful just because like you're constantly competing for like a spot every day. This is a little bit more laid back in a sense that like you're still working hard, you're still like trying to get better, but it's not like, oh, this determines if I'm on the bench or not today. Like this determines like if I get a starting spot, if I'm traveling. Like I think those are a lot of factors where like a lot of us have come back from college and be like, this is such a relief to gain some confidence that some of us might have lost during college and try and gain that confidence back, get some games in. Like, because a lot of us, like, probably been on the bench for a lot of this year. There's, like, a couple players, but a lot of us, since we're a super young team, we're probably, like, I think Charlie said, like, 7 out of 11 of our starters are 05s or 06s. Like, a lot of us are coming into these big schools where you're not likely to play as a freshman, but when you come back, like, you have to give your experience to these younger girls. So I think it's been good giving those little younger girls just some insight into what college soccer looks like and how like you have to be tuned in into every practice. It's not just, oh, let me wake up now, like let me just go through the motions. And Charlie and Josh, like I think they do a good job of like girls are different than guys. They respond differently. So I think they've definitely, like, to criticism and stuff like that, they're definitely not the coaches that are gonna like yell for 2 hours straight. They're gonna let the players play. And I think they let, honestly, us older girls get on the younger girls a little bit more. But overall, like, we're all very good to each other. I think it's a really good group of girls, so, especially because a lot of us played together before. But I think compared to some other environments when I was at different clubs, I think in the past, I think we all like treat each other really well, and it's a very positive environment. It's not there's no negativity at all. Like, everyone comes in, there's smiles on their face and warm up. So it's been good.
Yeah, we always play like music during the warm-ups and often even getting into training, which is nice because it just brings up the level. And like going off of what Liv said about like the younger girls, like, and more so the older girls getting on them and stuff instead of the coaches, it's also really refreshing to have the younger girls like as an older girl, just because they bring a certain like level of energy and like freeness because they haven't been in the environments like say college or whatever it is where like you get stressed and like things get in your head. So it's very nice and refreshing to see their attitude come onto the field.
I gotta ask, what's on that Riverlight training playlist?
Well, every day it's somebody different, so you never know when you're gonna get picked. It's funny when they pick the girls that like he knows. Like, some people like won't even look at him. He's like, all right, whose turn is it to be on aux? So like it's a little bit different. Like, some people are playing Pitch Perfect, like Riff Raff, whatever it is,
That's a
or
big
like
hit.
whatever they do. And then there's like girls who will play like pop, or some like will be like intense rap or like EDM. So it just depends like who's on aux. You could just see different personalities, I guess.
Then okay, let's lean this more towards both you. What are you, your like what's your go-to playlist when you get the chance to have aux?
Ooh, I go for a ton of throwbacks. Like I love like the 2000s, 2010s throwbacks.
Nice.
I like anything rap or like pop. Like, I even like that. I like Blythe's like throwbacks. But I think when I was on aux, I put on like this SoundCloud remix of like everything, because that's what our like my college team does to warm up. It's just a bunch of like songs, like just played at like a higher speed or something. I don't know. I don't know how they make those tracks, but they're fun to warm up to.
Very cool.
Good aux.
Other
Yeah.
than, Riverlight being local to you, what was the deciding factor for you choosing the club for this summer?
I was originally at City last year, and I think that was a little bit difficult because our trainings were at 6:30 in the morning, and so I'd have to get there at 5. I'd have to leave my house at 5:20 to get into the city. So yes, it is nice being local, but I also wasn't getting that many minutes last year, so I was driving really far and I wasn't playing a lot, whether that be deserved or not. Um, and I think that obviously there, like, they didn't switch up the squad a lot, which is why I think our squad has a lot of success, because we switch it up a lot. And obviously I've known Charlie from soccer's, and I just wanted to get as many minutes as I could, just because coming off of a season where you're not playing that much, I wanted to get as match fit as possible, and I knew that I could come in Riverlight and make a big impact and get a lot of minutes and just get ready for college. So I think that's why I chose Riverlight. And I obviously, the girls, like, I knew who he was picking, I knew who he was bringing in, and like I'd play with them before, like I enjoyed playing with them, so I just thought it would be a good idea.
Yeah, similarly, I was looking for a lot of minutes. I just feel like that's really important to get in the summer, and that's something that college coaches also stress. Um, so I had experiences down in Florida, as well as in Chicago playing summer teams, and I just knew that it was very important for me to have good conversations with the coaches and just see who they like who they were looking for and like how they saw the goalkeeping area of it laying out and everything like that. So between my conversations with Charlie, as well as just seeing their different promotions on Instagram and just who else they were bringing in, I knew that it was going to be a great environment as well as great competition and everything in between.
Blythe, obviously Olivia, she knew Charlie before, Charles Latshaw.
Mhm.
What were kind of those first conversations with Charlie and his coaching staff like for you, Blythe, someone who had never really talked to him before?
Well, first off, hey, I introduced myself. I mean, honestly, I just, I texted with him and I asked for a phone call and I introduced myself. He introduced himself. We sort of talked about like what he was looking for, what I was looking for, how he saw the season playing out, ideally, what he was looking for from a goalkeeper. And yeah, I mean, that was about it. Like sort of just what each other was looking for and if it was going to be a mutually beneficial spot.
Nice and simple like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, ladies, really, I want to focus on your individual questions before we get to our final one. And then we have a little segment. It's called Floating Down the Fox, where I ask you, just soccer-ish questions, and then we kind of vary through the middle. But Blythe, recently settling with Syracuse for this upcoming season, how has each experience with your past couple of teams help you settle in with Syracuse as well as River Light?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that my college experience as well as my college soccer experience as a whole has really helped me be in a great place right now. Because, I was at University of Iowa first and then Florida Atlantic second and now Syracuse. And each different team has offered me so much in terms of being around so many like amazing, talented players at all different schools, learning different play styles, how to adapt to different defenses, how to adapt to different coaches' mentalities, what they're looking for. I really do value the fact that I've been in so many environments because I think that I've had the opportunity to learn and grow from so many different coaches and players' needs and try and help best so that if I go into a match now where we need to adjust, maybe I have experience in doing so. And I just feel like having so much experience from just different people, like it really helps me do what I need to do now as well as be confident that I can. So I would say that that's huge.
Have you encountered any like challenges when transitioning from one team to another, especially as a keeper at all?
Yeah, nothing major, but adapting is always it's hard, but it's something that is only as hard as you're gonna make it, because you got to do it at the end of the day. So I do feel like with being in such a vocal position, you do need to step on the field and be a type of leader, and vocal, but then like as you come into these environments, you also don't want to step into toes because you do realize that you're coming into someone else's environment and you have to adjust and find your spot in it. So I find that, with being in such a vocal position, you have to learn what they already have established, learn what the team is looking for from you, as well as how they play and like what's going on there, and then just really how you could help them best. So I would say that's the only thing.
Now, Liv, we're going to switch to you. Being involved with one of the nation's best teams in Pitt, what were some of the things you learned with the team last season, especially as a freshman? Pitt making it to the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament, beating Arkansas, and then eventually falling to FSU.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I think a lot of us come in, a lot of us that come to these programs, like you're the star of your team. You play every single minute. So obviously to come into like a super seniority based team and like especially our midfield is probably the best part of our team. Our coaches even changed our formation this year to have 4 in the mid just because he wanted to get all of them on as possible. So for me, I was competing with seniors, 5th years, and a World Cup player from Nigeria that plays for the full national team that my coach coaches. So I get to play with some of the best people in the country and the best conference in the world, for college soccer at least, all the time. So it's just like the speed of play is constantly moving. You don't have much time to take more than 1 or 2 touches. So I think coming from a club environment where like I had a lot of freedom to do what I wanted, I obviously learned that like you got to get the ball moving quickly off your feet, and then like the workload, like college soccer running is completely different, especially when we got to those later games, I think, and all of us are obviously we're just on the bench like watching, like me and my freshman class, like we're watching them play against the big dogs like UNC and Florida State, and like to be able to like keep up, especially in that Arkansas game when I think they went into like double overtime or something. I mean, it's just like you see how much those seniors and those fifth years that have like completely changed this program from nothing to something, how hard they have worked to like build something and make a name for themselves. Like they want to be the next Florida State, they want to be the next UNC. So they're kind of teaching us youngers like what it takes to actually get there. Because like you don't realize how much like you do have to work collectively as a team to get to that point and get that far into the tournament or even just qualifying for the ACC tournament. It takes a lot. It takes everybody. So it's been cool, hard but cool to witness.
Yeah, of course. And now you've had a full season of collegiate soccer. You've almost finished your season here with Riverlight FC. What's kind of the mentality that you're heading into next season with the University of Pittsburgh? And, you know, how can you use some of that stuff that you learned with Riverlight to kind of put that into your collegiate career?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Riverlight that I talked about with my coaches was just like, I need to play because I mean, how do you get better at soccer when you're not playing for so long? And it's like one of those roles where it's like I'm being converted to the sixth role. I used to be an attacking mid, so and for that on our team, it's a really big commanding role. So I think for Riverlight, having that role and trying to command people on the field and just like getting the ball moving, telling people like where the ball needs to go in a sense. I think that's been huge for Riverlight and just like getting my fitness up, getting as many minutes as I can. For Pitt next year, it's just like looking to get into that rotation because after this year, like a lot of our squad is gone. We're a very senior based squad this year. So those final seniors will be going and it's going to be my class. So it's looking to get that experience so that our class can carry on this hopefully the generations after that just like keep proceeding to go up and climb higher. But yeah, I think this has been super helpful in just gaining that confidence back and like you know, being individual and just getting a louder voice. I think that's what I needed, especially from college, was that you sit back and you watch these seniors and fifth years command the field and it's like, no, like you're no longer the baby freshman anymore. Like you have to speak up and get involved. So Riverlight's been helpful with that.
There's been a lot of big things that have kind of just helped, you know, build this team. First off, I didn't know you were an attacking mid. You could have told me, yeah, I played a 10, but now I'm playing a 6. I would have been like, wait, what? That's so crazy to me because you fit in the 6 spot so well. You've been a big catalyst to, you know, spreading the ball out wide, just playing through the lanes, just doing a really good job. But the final question for both of you, what are your personal and just the overall team goals for these final 4 games? And what is the plan to achieve them?
Blythe, do you want to go first or do you want me to get this one?
I got it. So personal and team goals, correct? For the next 4 games. Team goals, to start, keep on improving, keep on getting better as a unit, as an 11, as well as I don't even know how big our squad is, but however big, you know, like just keep on improving, be the absolute best team that we can be for each game going forward, so that with that, the next part of it is get results. We want 3 points out of every single game to give us the best opportunity for playoffs and to move forward off of that. And when we do that, do well in playoffs, continue the success for River Light FC, and be the first steps in a successful year for River Light, and just be a building block for the years to come, you know? And then for personal, honestly, I would just love to help the team in any way that I can, keep the ball out of the back of the net. If I can have 4 clean sheets, I will. I would love that. So yeah.
I think for the team, I just think we just need to win out and make a statement. I think Charlie really wanted to make a big statement just in the Illinois area alone. We have so much talent and it's like widespread. And I think a lot of that talent comes from a lot of like the area around surrounding Aurora, all those cities and such. So getting all these group of girls together and finally just saying like, we want to be the best team in Chicago. We want to keep recruiting players to come here and keep building this team. So I think winning out and trying to make a run in playoffs would be great for the team. And then personally, I'm leaving. So I only have one more game left, I think, next week. So hopefully just get a good game in before I go back to school, and hopefully might go back to playoffs so I can come back and experience what playoffs is like, because I haven't done that yet for USL, so it'll be cool.
It'll be a first for both you and I. This is my first year kind of floating around the USL, so it's exciting. But I hope the last game all goes well. I know this weekend you both have RKC, and then I'm trying to remember what's after that. It gets a little fit. Like, say again?
I think it's City.
I think it's Rochester and then City, because I'm in the City game.
I think so. You might be right. Frankly, I have the schedule of both the men's and the women's just all back to back, and I get the colors confused from time to time. So I apologize. But ladies, I want to get into more of like the relaxed questions. Just you talk about a little bit about yourselves. It's called Floating Down the Fox. The first one, I want to start it very casually. Do you have a club that you support outside of the USL, in the collegiate level? So like Premier League, Serie A, MLS, NWSL, stuff like that.
Blythe, are you going first? Or going first?
Either of you can go. It's fine.
Go for it, Liv.
Outside of like I watch a lot of Premier League. I don't have a specific team that like I'm fond of. I've watched like mainly the men's side. Like I'm a big fan of what's it called? Can't even think right now. But Premier League, and then one of my other teams that I like in like La Liga is definitely Real Madrid. I love Real Madrid. I like to watch Luka Modric a lot. I just think the way that he moves the ball, and now that I'm transitioning into like a 6 role, I think that's a great player to just like look after, I guess. I don't watch a ton of the women's game. I probably should. I do enjoy watching my teammates though that are now in the NWSL. So like I like watching Amanda West, who's at Houston Dash, and then I like watching Landy at NC Courage. Just seeing them get to play is cool. But other than that, it's mainly just men's Premier League. I think I watch any of those games. I don't really have a specific team that I'm very fond of. I think just watching it's just good for the brain.
Yeah, I've just started to get into watching NWSL. Like when I was a kid, I watched Premier League and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm trying to watch NWSL to learn and just watch and everything like that. I don't have a specific team out of them that I follow. So I'll just go Chicago Red Stars. But yeah.
Keeping it local.
Totally.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I pride myself in, unfortunately, being a Manchester United fan, so it's a little tough, but it is what it is. Moving on, have you visited any stadiums across the world? Obviously, both having very diverse playing experiences. If so, which one's been your favorite?
Outside the country?
Outside, inside, really just depends on where you want to go.
Tough question. I feel like no absolute favorites. But when I was at Iowa, and traveling around the Big Ten schools, I really enjoyed seeing all the different campuses and stadiums. I remember Indiana University was like their fans were just so into it, and it was a cool stadium to be in the mix for.
I think my favorite was UNC, just because it's like a little childhood moment where like all of us, I think when we were like 5 years old, wanted to go to UNC. So I think just being there and on that field and being like, wow, like these are the girls who like I get to play against. I get to say that they're like in the same conference as me. I think that was super cool. And just like their fans are crazy, like they're crazy soccer people. So compared to our fans, like we get some good fans at Pitt, but like UNC and that whole like North Carolina area is just like huge for like it's like a soccer central. So our game was, and that was the first time we've ever beaten UNC. So I think playing them at their field and beating them for the first time in program history was really cool.
The next one you kind of can spin either way. Rodrigo, you were gonna mention something.
Yeah, I was just, you both mentioned the NWSL. Have you guys ever been to a game or thought of going to one? I know you're pretty busy with the games that you're actually playing, but have you ever thought of maybe just heading out to a game once and twice?
I've gone to a couple Red Stars games, but I think I've gone to more US Women's National Team games. I think like my dad and I, we've like gone to a couple different states just to go watch them play, and it's always fun to watch them because they're very good. So, Blythe.
Thanks, Liv. Um, yeah, I haven't actually ever been to an NWSL game now that you say it. I grew up going to like Chicago Fire games. I would always go to one for my birthday. And then similar to Liv, I've seen the US national team play a couple times, and that's just been awesome. I most recently saw them down in Miami. But never an NWSL game. I was gonna try and go to one this summer.
Every, athlete could just, even every person has their favorite pro athlete that they just idolize. I know Liv touched on Luka Modric a little bit, but who is like that one pro athlete, could be inside soccer, could be out, that you've just idolized for however long?
Mine's without a doubt Michael Jordan. I just always used to be like a basketball fan. And I actually watch NBA more than anything else. And I always just loved Michael Jordan, so he was it for me.
I think I'd go down the basketball line with Blythe. I think I like Kobe Bryant a lot, and just like the motivational piece on him and like how hard he works, and it makes you kind of put everything into perspective on like how much everyone else is doing around you and how much like if you want to make it to the top level, like how much you have to do in return.
Yeah.
Did you guys play basketball back in high school or even growing up?
Yeah, I played basketball and volleyball in middle school, and I wanted to play basketball at my high school, but the issue is my high school basketball team is very good. I went to Bennett, and they're super competitive, so their practices were like a 4-hour block after school, and obviously that wasn't gonna fly with soccer, so it just didn't really work out. But obviously I miss it. Like I think I enjoyed it, but gotta put soccer first.
Yeah, I played basketball for a while. It was actually my favorite sport for most of my childhood. And then I got serious with soccer probably in middle school, and then high school rolled around, and I was gonna try out for the team, and then I learned that they had morning practices, and I was like, okay, soccer it is. Like, I think that's what I'm doing.
Not a
So
morning person?
that's basketball. Oh no, absolutely not.
So this is something I know I asked Charlie, and he just could not give me a straight answer. So I think I got like 3 different answers. I'm like, this isn't gonna fly. But what is your pregame superstition? Now I know every athlete, or almost every athlete, has one.
Can this be like what we eat, or do you mean like something that
Could be
has to do?
eat, could be something you do, could be just anything that involves like your ritual before a game.
I think for me, if I were to like take you through a game day pregame ritual, it would probably be like I have to nap at least like 2 to 3 hours in advance. If like depending on the game, obviously if it's in the morning, I'm not gonna nap. But like anything after 2 o'clock or even 1 o'clock, I'm gonna be taking a nap. And then I think I always have to have like some type of like pregame like carb, whether it's like goldfish, like fruit snacks. Like if I don't get that in 30 minutes before a game, like I notice I don't play as well. But other than that, like I don't really have any other pregame superstitions.
What is
Mine.
the two snacks? Sorry, Blythe.
Oh no, 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 you're good.
I'm a big goldfish person, so people will see me in the locker room. I'll come in with a full bag of goldfish. I'm stocked with Gatorade and goldfish. I will eat as much and drink as much of that possible before a game, just because I think it makes me feel the best and most like energetic before a game.
I don't have like a set something. Like I found that it sort of switches based on like which team or environment I'm on. But one thing that stayed pretty consistent is I always have Dunkin' Donuts coffee, a nice coffee that day, and I bring gummy bears to the locker room to eat before the game.
What was like the inspiration behind gummy bears? Is that just something you kind of just grew up as a kid, you enjoying, or is this kind of just something you've developed through college?
Yeah, I think at the gas station one day I was like looking for a pregame snack, and I was like, you know what? Gummy bears are always good. It wasn't really that deep. It was just something that happened, and I was like, yep, this works.
Fair enough. And the one final thing, what I want you to do is I just want you to take soccer out of this completely. What's your favorite thing to do in your downtime? Let's get to know some of the players.
Like, do you want this or do you want me to go first?
Now you got this.
I'm a big sleep fan. I love to nap. That sounds like a really boring answer, but I think once you go to college or even just in high school, because honestly, high school is really difficult too, but like having downtime is so nice, just like getting able to nap and then like obviously like watching my favorite TV shows. But I think the one reasoning that I picked up on is pickleball. I'm a huge pickleball fan now. So whenever I can play pickleball with my friends when they aren't working, I think pickleball is my go-to outside hobby of soccer.
I same on naps. Love naps. We'll get it as many as possible. I also really like to walk. Like I just like to take walks outside, walks with my dog, and travel.
I have to ask, Liv, you mentioned some of your favorite TV shows. What are a couple of them right now?
Um, some of my favorite TV shows. I just started Suits and Sex and the City, which are good shows. And then obviously I'm gonna be a forever like Gossip Girl, Gilmore Girls fan. But yeah, and like The Walking Dead. I don't know. I just like I kind of like switch off my comfort shows, but those are probably like a top 5 for me.
And Blythe, you mentioned traveling. Is there like one place I would say, I don't know, last 5 years that you've just really liked going to?
I love going to Mexico. My family has spent some time there and it's like a good spot for us. So it's just always nice to lay out on the beach and get a tan.
Well, I personally don't have any more questions for you, Rodrigo. Do you have anything hanging around left over?
No, I don't think so. I think we learned a lot about you guys, and we always appreciate getting to talk to a couple of the athletes that make up Riverlight FC, and I think we got two of the best here today.
You really
Thanks for having
couldn't
me.
you really couldn't ask for anything more. Both Blythe and Liv have been immense this season, truthfully.
Thanks for having us on, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No problem. That is a wrap on episode 4 of Riverlight FC. I don't know how we're gonna transition out of this one, so I guess we'll just say goodbye to this episode, and who knows, maybe we'll have another some more athletes on in the future. I sure hope so.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun next couple weeks. We'll see if we can get possibly some more of the ladies on, maybe try to coax some of the men to stop being camera shy and get them on here, but we'll see how that all works out. Ladies, again, thank you for joining us, but yeah, that's episode 4.
All right, that was Blythe Braun and Olivia Duray from Riverlight FC, goalkeeper and midfield for that team. We're just going to go over a couple of the games coming up for Riverlight. First one we got coming up is Peoria City, the rematch, if you may.
Needless to say, I am not excited for this one because the last time these teams both played, it was a 2-2 draw. Uh, really, this game could have gone either way. It was a very feisty match. 9 total yellow cards. Right, Rodrigo, you and I were calling it back down in Aurora, and Cody and I will have the call for the Shea Stadium call against Peoria City. I'm personally very excited to see how this one ends because I have a feeling we're going to get a winner here. The first one was a duel of gladiators. This one's going to be a all right, which gladiator is going to come out on top?
Yeah, we saw that 2-2 draw at Spartan Athletic Park. Now, Riverlight's going to go to Shea Stadium, which is a very nice facility out there in Peoria, Illinois, and it's going to be a really tough match for Riverlight, mostly because of the form that Peoria City is coming into this one with. They've been just beating teams. They've recently played against Chivas de Guadalajara under 23 team and Springfield FC as well. So they've had a couple games to get some of those guys who maybe aren't as impactful, who are more impactful on the bench. So they're going to have a lot of guys there ready to just pick up the slack if need be.
And I really think that biggest threat off the bench for Peoria City, if he does get some game time, will be Danny Serge. He's just been immense the last couple games for Peoria City, scoring a wonderful free kick and then just putting in some vital goals both against Springfield and Chivas. It's been great to see him get some action, but really, I want to get into some score predictions because this one I have going 2-1 to Riverlight.
That's a pretty good prediction. I don't think we're going to see as much goals, at least a 2-2 scoreline as we saw in the first one. I do think we could see maybe a 1-0 game though. I think it could get maybe a little more conservative on both ends with both teams, especially at this point of the season, where we're starting to get a little bit more of a familiarity with both teams.
You're still kind of surfing through the waves of what is Riverlight FC? Are they the dark horse? Are they just going to be a powerhouse for the next 10 years? This is still, this gray area where we know they're good. They're competing for the very top spot in both the men's and the women's division. And I think that's been really just the key catalyst. So 1-0, 2-1, both kind of following the same mentality of this could be a very tight match. But Rodrigo, I want to switch into the women's game this upcoming Father's Day as Riverlight takes on RKC Third Coast in the home match this time around. As well, it's on Father's Day, hoping the stands are going to be packed.
Yeah, this would be a good one to have a little more attendance on, especially on the day, especially on a really interesting game. RKC, they've been struggling this season to say the least. We haven't seen the best soccer from them this season. Last time Riverlight went up there to Wisconsin to play them. If I remember correctly, it was a 4-0 at the half, and then it ended because of some weather. Am I getting that right, Hayden?
As someone who was there, yes, 4-0 after halftime. Miriam scored 2, Eglin scored 1, and then Brianna Young scored another as well from a very weird position. I still don't know how that went, and even, almost a week or two later. But this RKC team had a lot of possession in the second half of just trying to keep the ball away from Riverlight as much as possible. That was the goal. And once they found a couple spaces, going far side, through the right wing, through the left wing, they started to make a couple plays happen. So don't discredit them enough. Don't discredit them too much. Yes, scoreline 4-0 after 64 minutes was called off due to a lightning call. It is what it is at the end of the day. Riverlight knows that, they just played a game against Bavarian. It was what I mentioned on my social media is arguably their strongest 11, where they threw everybody out there and they got a 6-0 battering against Bavarian. They did phenomenally. I think we might see a little bit less of that against RKC, try to rest some players as you have a couple big games coming up still, one of which coming up against Chicago City in about a week or two.
Yeah, that Chicago City game is going to be an important one, mostly because of how the first one ended 2-1. A late battle against that Chicago City team who's been a bit of I wouldn't say a surprise, but they've been doing really well in the Heartland division. And just going back to RKC Third Coast, one win in their last 7 games. They've only scored 9 goals this season, conceded 23. It's a team who has been struggling this season. And, as you said, Riverlight's going to try to probably put in some of the ladies that don't get too much of that game time to give them a chance against an RKC team that has been struggling as of late.
And before, those say, that may be, very rude of them to do, fitness at the end of the day is very, very important. You can't play X amount of players in X amount of days. It's just not realistic. Let's talk about Olivia Duray for a second. She played, I think, 4 games in 11 days. I'm sorry, my legs would be falling off at that point. It's just very unrealistic. So getting, players like her, maybe even Blythe, a little bit of an opportunity just to, sit back, watch the game from a fan's perspective, and let some of the other players play. I think this is just a good opportunity to continue to fill out what this Riverlight side means to just the community as a whole. As yesterday with Izzy Lee stepping in net for the first time, that was the 40th Riverlight player to feature this season.
Yeah, Charles Latchshaw III and his coaching staff at the beginning of the season mentioned how much they wanted to give all their players plenty of game time so that when they get back to their collegiate teams or even some their high school teams, they have a lot of things to take away from their summer. And yeah, that's what you got to do against some teams. You just got to put in some players that maybe aren't your strongest starters, but Riverlight's a team that has a lot of quality even on the bench.
Which is just a statement to the recruiting that Charlie has done. A lot of his coaching staff, Raul, Josh, Alex, they've all stepped in and just really filled out the bench. And that is why I think against RKC, I'm thinking 4-1.
Yeah, I mean, as long as this one doesn't end in the second half on a weather delay or on weather at all, I think this could see a couple of goals. I think we're going to see a 4-0 right there.
Going for the clean sheet. That's what I love hearing. Unfortunately, I don't know. The defense, when you're not seeing a handful of players, especially in that midfield, sometimes gets a little shaky. So that's why I'm like, give them the benefit of the doubt, saying, one, that's fine. You lose the clean sheet, it sucks. But at the end of the day, you're still getting a +3 goal difference, which is still huge. 3 points on the board as well.
Of course. And next up, Tuesday, the men get to play Chicago City SC. And, this is unfortunately not a home game for them. It's an away day. So we're going to see a little bit of a different matchup against them. This is actually the second time they've played. They've already played them already. And it's going to be a little bit of it's going to be a tough one.
This is going to be a rematch that I've been waiting for, because when both the men and the women team came to Aurora for, their away leg, you can feel almost the hostility between both sets of fans. Like, you could tell this felt a little bit more rivalry like, and I'm like, I'm so here for this. Let's get involved. Now, it's stunk that the women couldn't get the job done at the end of the day. A very unfortunate conceded goal in the 92nd minute. It's like, I remember sitting up in the booth and I was like, man, oh man, that is not the way I wanted that game to end. I thought, 1-1 would have been fair, but you take a look at it and, well, the more you mention it, this is the first time this team has faced Chicago City. So we have no idea where this game's going to go.
Yeah, a lot of uncertainties with that one. And considering how close it is to that Peoria City game on Saturday, we might see some guys that, off the bench come in and maybe starting for the first time. And Peoria City, apologies, Riverlight FC has a lot of quality on both the men's and women's side. So we'll see a good game against them. Score prediction, Hayden.
Do I have to give one for this one? I know Chicago City's been in really good form. Just they're starting to fight their way up the table again. Let me pull up their stats super quickly. I didn't have them pre-prepared, so yell at me later. It's okay. I'll take that one on the chin. I know Chicago City has a lot of talent, especially in the front line. Their front line has been one of the more consistent things about them in this league, but you take a look at the standings as I'm currently pulling up, and the USL website doesn't want to load for me. Scrolling down. Nope, that's the Wisconsin schools. Okay, I must have passed it. But point being, I know you're seeing a lot of really fun divisions being stepping forward. Now, Chicago City start trying to climb the way up the table. So currently sitting in 6th in the USL League Two in the Heartland Division. Riverlight sitting in 4th with 12 points. Now, Peoria City has 11. St. Charles has 15. Des Moines with 13. The standings always confuse me. But regardless, got a 3-3 draw against St. Charles. We're not too sure what's going to happen with Peoria City coming up. I know we gave a prediction of 2-1 and 1-0 respectively. I think just based on the fact that this is a rivalry, we'll see how the coaches take it. I think that's where the battle's going to be won. It's going to be the mentality and the tactics. I'm thinking 2-0 Riverlight.
That's a pretty good score prediction right there. Yeah, taking a look at just the table, Heartland Division, they're sitting in 6th. They've played 6 games, 1 win, 4 losses. But again, this is as close to a Clasico or a Derby day for any Premier League or La Liga team out there. So it's got a little extra spice with it, and with it as well, it might have a little bit less opportunities for both teams, maybe a little more holding back to try to conserve so late in the season. So yeah, I think this one's going to end. I think I'll have to agree with you, Hayden. 2-0 Riverlight FC. I think they'll be able to put this one away.
The only part that concerns me is this is the away leg of, the doubleheader and the league standings. But the way I'm looking at it is that there's still so much to play for. This is about the midpoint of the men's season because they play through the middle of July. I think their last game's on like July 17th, 16th, 17th, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
So knowing that there's still plenty more soccer to play, still a lot of points up for grabs, you need to get your 3 points away and then come back home, because I believe their next match, or I should say their next home match, should be on the 26th. Still TBD as of now.
Yeah, and one more game that we'll talk about here. Rochester for the women, June 21st. That's a Friday game. I know, a Friday, not a Thursday game. We've been having a couple Thursday games for a while now, but that one's going to be on a Friday. Spartan Athletic Complex, Rochester, really good team from Wisconsin. It's going to be a good one, and you're not going to want to miss this one.
I will say they just played Rochester about a week ago, give or take. Wasn't really too sure how that game was going to end because of how close they drew Minnesota Aurora. It was 2-1 up until like the dying embers of the game. And then Riverlight rolls up and, 4-1 win at the end of the day. You had Maya Nugent, who scored an absolute screamer from 25, 30 yards out. Clip went viral on social media. You had Adriana Miriam with a beautiful free kick. That could go up in many different museums for just how good that looked on camera. And then Emily Rossi and then Chiarelli just sticking a boot out, getting the toe poke into the back of the net, which was just very important. At the end of the day, a 4-1 win is how you really kind of seal off that Minnesota trip, especially after losing such a close match against Minnesota Aurora.
Yeah, apologies. They're a Minnesota team, not a Wisconsin team. A little bit different, but we're still in the Midwest. But yeah, Rochester, they're a team that had gotten that draw against Minnesota Aurora. Didn't fare too well against Riverlight FC in the first leg. Now we're in the second leg, which was just a week ago. So I think we could see a little bit more of the starters for that one, just because of the fact that it's so far away from that other game that they're playing against RKC on Sunday. So it's got a little bit of time where when the players will be able to rest a little bit. So for this one, I think I'm going to give my score prediction right off the bat. I think it's going to be a 4-0.
You're going big or going home. You're just going back to back, clean sheets, 4-0 victories for the ladies. Now, I need to think,
confidence in them,
which is fair. I would have a lot as well, but the only reason I'm saying I'm going to say lower, I'm going to say 2-0. There's a reason behind it. Now, yes, a lot of the starters from yesterday against Bavarian will probably not make the team for RKC. Give them some rest, make sure they're all rejuvenated, good to go. They may get some time against Rochester, but if you look further into their schedule, their final two games, Chicago City and Chicago Dutch Lions. I think you're going to get a bit of a kind of like a mixed 11 against Rochester, bit of first, bit of bench players, try to just combine it as much as possible, because Chicago City is arguably the most important game out of that. I believe they play today. If I remember the schedule correctly, they play today. Going into yesterday, they were one of three teams tied on 13 points. So if I'm, looking at the schedule, trying to concoct my favorite team against Chicago City, I'm throwing all my starters out there. If you played against Bavarian, I would say you've got a pretty high unlikely chance of playing against Chicago City. Now, that is pending, rotation and who's available. So a lot of things and factors still to be determined. But I'm looking at that Chicago City game, highlighting it and saying, I need to have as many starters ready to go for that one.
Yeah, that Chicago City game is definitely going to be vital. Being played June 25th, right after that Rochester game. So I think we will see a bit of that mixture of first team players with some of the bench players. And yeah, a lot of it is going to count on that RKC game. Just seeing, hey, who are some of the ladies that are doing really well against RKC? Who can I put them in for that Rochester game? And I think that's going to be an important one for maybe some of the players who haven't gotten that much time so far with the season winding down.
There's still, after RKC, there's only 3 games left. You need to, as Blythe was mentioning, you need to make these points count. 3 points every time. Liv was preaching it too. 3 points for the final 4 games. Pick up those 12s. End yourself on, I got to do some quick math, 28 points. I believe that's the hot margin if they win out. That'll put you pretty high and likely to finish in that second spot pending other results. Now, obviously beating Bavarian, you've jumped above them now. So you're really only other competition is Chicago City, and losing to them the first time around. Bella Diorio scored the only goal in that game. Remember, she chipped the goalkeeper and I went absolutely ballistic. I'm like, that is crazy. That looks so cool. you need to win that away leg. That is no doubt in my mind. You have to win it.
Yeah, Chicago City for both teams will be very important matchups this season in what has become a tight race to the top in the Heartland division for both the men and the women of Riverlight FC. Hayden, do you got anything else to talk about from this for these last couple of games?
And we only have a handful more home games left. For the ladies, RKC and Rochester are the final ones for them. If you want to include the Dutch Lions one, you can, because they do share the same ground in Spartan Athletic Park. But for the men, they're also starting to run down their time. In July, those are their final 3 home games. If you take a look at the schedule, it's at Peoria City, at Chicago City. You have a TBD game, which we haven't gotten official confirmation on if there will be one played in that slot. You'll be at Des Moines Menace. Then you'll have the international friendly with one of the second division Mexican sides. And then it's home against Sueño, Dutch Lions, and then Chicago City. So you're running out of time to see this team this summer. If you're trying to get that opportunity, jump on it now.
Time is definitely running out to see Riverlight FC in their first season in USL League Two and the Heartland Division in a very difficult and very complicated Heartland Division this season. And yeah, I think that's going to put a wrap on this episode, episode 4. It was a fun one, and it looks like we'll just see you back here next time for episode 5. Perhaps with some guests, maybe?
We'll find out. Anything's possible.